Hi, I'm Spencer Macpherson, and you're watching the Permanent Rain Press.
Hi everyone, it's Chloe with the Permanent Rain Press today. I am so excited to be joined by Spencer McPherson. How are you?
Doing great, great. Nice to be talking.
It is nice to be talking. You've had a really busy couple of weeks with the show just premiering on Thursday. You had the premiere press junkets, you were at the Kids' Choice Awards. Has it kind of sunk in yet that episodes are starting to roll out?
Yeah, it's been a whirlwind. I'm so excited. I know that everyone who's a part of this show is so proud of it, and we've been holding it as our own for too long. So it's exciting for it to be everyone else's.
Yeah. Well, we'll get into school spirits in just a moment, but I wanted to cycle back a bit because you have a community theater background. So tell me about what sparked your passion for the arts and how integral was the stage in your earlier years?
Yeah, I both of my older sisters are really good singers and actors, and I basically just did whatever they did when I was younger. And so that kind of got me to start down this road. And yeah, I did musicals for a long time, and that led me to, start doing on camera stuff. And I'd love to sing again, but I feel like I'm not much of a singer anymore. So I'm kind of stuck now to the acting side of it.
You never know. I feel like it doesn't leave you. I mean, you were a drama major in high school, right? So
Yeah,
you've had that a little bit of that training.
yeah.
You have mentioned your favorite actor is Jason Bateman. So I was curious, like, what do you admire about his work and his career?
He's just so, I mean, I love that sense of humor. I love the dry sense of humor. He's so real and honest. And I love the idea that there's so many different kinds of actors, right? There's like the character actors, and Jason Bateman is just always has this like very truthful, honest to himself like vibe in all of his performances. Um, yeah, I'm just a huge fan of his.
So you'd like to do something in the like Ozark, also like there's Arrested Development realm, those kind of projects in the future?
Oh yeah, that'd be great. I love Arrested Development. I love like Horrible Bosses. I love all of his comedy. I love Juno. I just watched Juno recently. He's really good in that too. Yeah.
Filmed in BC as well, if you weren't already aware.
I did not know that. No, that's cool.
So I'm guessing I know the answer to this question because your sisters were involved with the arts, but was your family always supportive of, your career as like the younger one following in their footsteps?
Yeah, yeah, I think so. My parents are very like eccentric people that we're always like quoting movies in our house, and like that's just always been ingrained in us. So yeah, I feel like since we were all kids, we've all had a passion for movies and TV and all that stuff.
What's your most quotable movie? Like I'm sure every family member has one where they keep going back to like their favorite, that same movie.
What do we quote a lot? We're big on like at Christmas time. We watch all the Christmas movies, and so we're always quoting like "It's a Wonderful Life" and "The Grinch" and "A Christmas Story," and so we're always quoting. Yeah, I'd say like yeah, Christmas time, December in my household is it's just like pop culture references, and that's it. That's it.
Full of one-liners, right? You know to expect it every time you go back.
Yeah,
I was gonna say A Christmas Carol would be pretty on brand because you were in a production of that when you were younger.
I
So I
was.
wonder if you can like recite all of the lines from that production by now.
Oh, well, I mean, I was Tiny Tim. So there's the go-to, God bless us everyone. Uh yeah, I mean, it was the musical version too. You know what? If I was like if I was sitting on the coals, I could probably sing all the songs from that musical right now.
There we go. So many years later, well, older Tiny Tim. We'll talk a bit about music because I know it's a part of your life. So, what could you share? When did that love originally start for you?
Well, yeah, it's funny because once again, I always following in my sister's footsteps, and I would just listen to the kind of music she did. So I I was like a kid. I was in like grade three and like really into like punk rock, like emo, My Chemical Romance, that whole scene. Uh, and yeah, I've always just had a passion for it. We go to concerts all the time, and even sometimes for acting, I like to make a little playlist and make that for the character. Yeah.
Have you graduated to writing any of your own music yet, or are you kind of like not doing
Oh,
that yet? Is that something you'd like to do in the future?
I don't know if I mean, never say never, but I don't think that that's something I have the confidence yet to try.
What concert have you been to recently?
I just saw the 1975 at their very best in Toronto. And actually, Peyton from the show went to the concert with us, and yeah, it was such a good show.
I know I saw a video of you and Milo Manheim, your School Spirits co-star. You were singing Green Day, so there's that kind of emo phase. I know Piano Man was also on rotation, so it must be fun to kind of hang out with like-minded people, similar taste in music. You can just have these jam sessions, like no pressure, right?
Totally. And Milo's a really good singer, so I can kind of just like stand behind him and dance and he'll do all the heavy lifting. So
Don't sell yourself short. I think you have like a nice raw tone as well.
oh, thank
We'll talk about Degrassi. You'll always be a part of that family. Their tremendous legacy in Canadian television, and you got to reunite with some of that family last November to celebrate Linda Schuyler, co-creator, and her new book, Mother of All Degrassi. So, how special was that night?
Oh, it was amazing. Yeah, that's my second high school. So all of the, it's just, I feel like whenever we get together, all of us Degrassi kids, it's just instantly back to normal. And that was a great night. Yeah, it was so good reconnecting with everyone. Yeah, once a Degrassi and always a Degrassian.
What does it mean to you to have played Hunter, have him and Degrassi in as part of your career?
Oh, it's massive. I think that that was a really big learning ground for me and for a lot of people on that show. So, I mean, now rewatching it, I'm probably a little bit, I'll probably like cringe, but I think that it was incredibly important, and I loved that character so much, and that show does so much to like touch on really important topics like mental health, which was Hunter's kind of deal, and yeah, I think that any kind of interactions I've had with anyone who was a fan of that show really appreciated the representation, I guess, of people with mental illness that Hunter provided.
Do you see or talk to any of your Degrassi co-stars regularly?
I still see Andre Kim quite a bit. I see Aaron Kassam quite a bit, and Sarah Waysglass. Yeah, we're all in Toronto, so I mean, we're always getting together.
I know Sarah, who of course plays your on-screen twin. She's doing well in Ginny and Georgia. She gave you and School Spirits a nice shout out on her Instagram story. So it must be nice to kind of see where both of you are at now, like, leads in your kind of different shows. But I like to think that Degrassi kind of set you up for some of those heavier subject matters.
Absolutely, yeah. And I'm such a big fan of Sarah's and Ginny and Georgia. I watched all of it. And yeah, it's cool to just see everyone on their different paths, but we'll always, have Degrassi.
And back in May, you appeared at the Long May She Reign convention out in Paris. How was that experience for you?
It was awesome. I'd never done anything like that, like a convention kind of thing like that, and it was just so cool to meet all the people that were fans of that show. I loved doing Rain, and it's funny too because you know I was I think 18 when I did that, and it's cool kind of coming back and everyone's kind of grown up, and I mean I was like the kid on that set, and now And yeah, so it was cool reconnecting with everyone and seeing where we all are at in our lives. And yeah, I think it might be time to look at the archives and watch some of those old episodes now.
I'm sure you felt a lot of a like nostalgic throwback going there, and you did panels, meet and greets, got to see everyone again. And what's crazy is it was like 2017 was when the show ended, but this is 5 years later, and it speaks to like the longevity and the reach of that show. I'm guessing you'd be eager to do another one of those conventions if you were invited back.
Absolutely, I'd be there in a heartbeat. It was a lot of fun. And yeah, Rain was just yes, I think it was such a cool show and such a cool opportunity too. As like I feel like as a young Canadian dude, you don't get many opportunities to like do an act, do all these big character swings. And that show provided that opportunity, which was really really exciting and daunting and fun.
In terms of the convention, are there any specific moments that you remember from being in Paris and meeting everyone?
Yeah, what was it? We all got together for breakfast the morning before the convention, which was cool. Just kind of caught up and chatted for a bit, which was nice, not to just be thrown into. I really get to kind of work into the high octane environment that a convention is. Yeah, I'm trying to think of good. I mean, Paris is also just such a beautiful place. I ended up staying for like a week after we finished the convention with my girlfriend, just like hanging out and exploring Paris. Yeah.
Now we will get into school spirits, but before that, I just want to give a spoiler warning to all those watching and listening. We are talking episodes 1 through 3, so please make sure you've caught up. You've been given a fair warning. But with your audition process, Spencer, what can you share about how that went?
Well, I tried out at the beginning of 2022, and I loved the character, I loved the script, but I didn't hear anything, and I kind of just assumed you just got to let it go. I feel like that's kind of a learned trait with this business is a lot of no's, a lot of rejection. So I hung my head and moped around for a bit, and then I got the audition again, and I guess they'd re-released it, and yeah, from there I auditioned. I did the chemistry with Peyton and chemistry with Kiara, who plays Nicole, and yeah, and the rest is history. It was a really fun audition process. I think the scenes were really really cool. Um, and yeah, it's funny how what you do in an audition, the similarities and the differences between what you end up doing on the set.
Did you do a scene that has already been released, or is it unreleased, or is it in later episodes that you can't spoil for the time being?
The one of the audition scenes was the scene in the truck with when you first meet Xavier in the flashbacks, where he's like, he's kind of he's playing two things there. He's telling Maddie that he's out here to charge his phone, but he's texting and he's texting someone, Claire, and yeah, that scene was really fun too because Xavier, a lot of the time you get this kind of like grim and like heavy side of him, but most of the auditions were showing the flashbacks of Xavier, which is someone that's uh, he's kissed the Blarney Stone. He's got the gift of the gab, and I think that's funny. That's a big part of the character that I think maybe gets overlooked a little bit.
I think that's interesting, and it's good for, casting because they wanted to see that duality in
Mhm.
Xavier early on. Did you meet co-creators, writers Megan and Nate Trinrud as well during that early process?
Yeah, we met over Zoom. And oh god, they're so great, and I we also Oliver was on the calls. Max, who directed 1 and 2, was on the calls, and yeah, it was intimidating for sure, but excellent.
Did you have a lot of discussions with Megan Nate, producers, directors, in shaping Xavier, and how did you identify who he was?
Yeah, I had a good couple chats with Megan and Nate before we started shooting. A lot about like his history and what makes him tick, and it's funny because as a viewer, you get to kind of like make these assessments on these characters kind of blindly. But like no one in this show is awful or evil, or you know what I mean? People make mistakes, and they're all broken in their own right. And that was something that was really clear, I guess, from the jump, that Megan and Nate love Xavier. They see the good in him, and so do I. And I mean, hopefully, people that watch eventually do. But I know it's a tough sell.
You're like, I've seen the first three episodes. It's definitely kind of hard. But in terms of Megan and Nate, like how were they as resources and creatives to learn from? Because what's interesting with the show is a lot of shows come out and there's already the books, the graphic novels, comics to go off of. But for this, the graphic novel is set to release next year. So really, it's just them and their brains that you're kind of picking to see if you can pull tidbits or make your own kind of interpretation. So how are they to talk to and engage with on set?
They were such a helpful resource, and so open to. A lot of the time on these shows, the writers aren't present on whether they're away and working on the next episode or whatever it is. But Megan and Nate were always, and Oliver and everyone were always such a ready and available resource. Any questions we had, anything like that, which was extremely helpful because it's a very plot, heavy show. It moves quickly, and you do as much homework as you can to kind of have everything sorted out. But sometimes you're shooting a scene from the end of episode 2, and then later that day you're shooting one from the middle of one, and it's a lot of jumping around. So it's nice to have that kind of someone's hand to hold, so to speak.
What kind of music did you listen to prepare for the role of Xavier?
I listened to the soundtrack for 500 Days of Summer a lot, which is weird because it doesn't really connect to the character of Xavier, but there's for some reason there's like this, that kind of hopeless feeling that his character in that has was really there's a lot of songs on that soundtrack that really resonate. What else? I also loved Phoebe Bridgers, who is in the end of the first episode. Bonnie Vare. I feel like he's a very sad boy, but like I don't know if that's the music Xavier listens to. I feel like he's kind of like a Nirvana, like a grunge pop punk kind of guy. But yeah.
500 Days of Summer. I think there was that song by the Temper Trap. Such a good song.
Yeah.
Sweet. It was Sweet Disposition,
That's
something
right.
like that. Yeah.
That's right.
So we'll be talking a bit more about Xavier, but I do have to note, like, if there are things that come up in later episodes, you can feel free to say like I'm not going to disclose that because there'll be more to come. But what
Thank
can you
you.
tell me about Xavier's childhood and early life? Anything that you can add on that?
Well, it's one of those tricky things because I'm not sure if they'll want to touch on that as it goes. But I mean, what I had discussed with Megan and Nate was, mom is not in the picture. The kind of backstory I had built, which, it's funny because in a season 2, we could find out I'm completely wrong, but like, this is what I was thinking is she left when I was young, and now she lives on the other side of the country and she got a new family, and maybe he went to go visit her at some point, and he was just completely out of his depth. And I think, yeah, all he kind of has is his dad, and his dad is interesting because he's such a man of a bygone era. He's he's not a feeling guy, and he's from a time when men don't cry. And I think a lot of those traits have kind of been the sins of our fathers have been passed down to Xavier. but I think at his core, he just really, he's got some mommy issues, and he really wants someone to be vulnerable with, and I don't think that he wants to be like his father.
I think that's a very fair assessment. And you can see like how authoritative, stern his dad would have been with Xavier growing up. A lot of love lost there. Tell me about Xavier and Maddie's relationship. Like prior to her murder, her disappearance, how long do you think they had been together?
I mean, it wasn't made clear, but I would say about a year. Um, and yeah, I think that they're both kind of outcasts in their own right. They both can't wait to get out of high school, and I think that they're enabling one another to kind of bide their time until they can escape the halls of Split River.
And he did see potential in her as he says. So he was like attracted to Maddie, like I would say like on a deep level, obviously different than like let's say her connection with Simon, but there was something there between the two of them.
For sure, for sure. Yeah, and Maddie, I mean, I know if we touch on this later, I might be answering this right now, but I think that Maddie has had a lot of walls, obviously, and there's a line in the second episode where he's like, how are we gonna go to your house? You won't even let me pass the front porch. Why is that? And I think that while he passes that off as a joke, I think that he's sincerely thinks like she doesn't want to introduce him to her mom, to let him into her life for valid reasons. But that's completely unbeknownst to Xavier. I feel like he feels like, okay, so I'm just the guy that you hook up with in a car, and you know what I mean? Like I think that there's a lot. He really wanted to be open and real and honest with her, and I think that for whatever for obvious reasons, she didn't want to let those walls down.
That actually like kind of feeds into my next one is do you think that that's kind of how Xavier ended up hooking up with Claire? Like, were you given kind of context? Were you and Rainbow given context for their relationship? Because it's a bit of an unlikely pairing in terms of like the social status. So, do
Yeah.
you think that that's kind of what was lacking for him? And did you and Rainbow draw up, unless maybe this will be touched on later in later episodes, but how they ended up kind of together in secret?
Me and Rainbow kind of just made a little backstory, just the idea that like they were at a party and they met up, and I see Claire as someone who's very direct, and she's not as aloof maybe as Maddie is, and I think that was something that was attractive to Xavier. It was the idea that maybe this is the person that will fill that mom-sized hole in me of like, I want to be vulnerable and like honest with someone. um, it's funny though, because I'm sitting here justifying something that is obviously still not a good thing, but it's like these are the kind of things that I guess you have to do to make it. You're not playing, not you can't just be playing a bad guy, like, and I think that Xavier's not that.
Yeah, no, I think it's completely fair because when you embody your character, like you want to kind of justify their actions and think of, what led them to this decision in this moment. There is a distinct lack of trust, as you mentioned, between Xavier and his father, the sheriff. Do you think this friction originated like ever since he was young and maybe like the mother went off and as the season progresses, like will we see this relationship be further tested and maybe see some of that history?
Yeah, the relationship between me or Xavier and Sheriff Baxter definitely develops as the season goes on, and they're just so there's yeah, it continues to be touched upon without giving away too much. Austin Baxter, Sheriff Baxter, is a very career driven man, and he wants to rise the ranks. He's a cop. He wants to be the mayor. He maybe has the worst possible son to achieve those goals. And Xavier knows that, and he knows that he's just like all he is just a big speed bump for his dad, unfortunately.
There's a lot of questions about motives because, he puts him in the back of the car. He says, I'll take care of it. But for Xavier, like your character, he's probably thinking, like, he doesn't care about me. He just wants to protect his job.
Yeah, totally. And Xavier really, really is torn up about this, not only because he's, suspect number one, but also because this is someone he loves and cares about. And it seems that his dad just doesn't care and just wants to sweep it under the rug. And yeah, Xavier's more of a tile guy. So I think he doesn't want a rug.
Yeah, there's that line when he says, "Oh, your friend," and then Xavier goes, "She was more than a friend." He kind of dismisses that relationship. But what was it like working with Ian Tracey? Because I know you know Keenan, his
Yeah.
son. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, when I first got out to Vancouver, the only person I knew out there, first person I messaged was Keenan, because we played twin brothers in a movie called Extracurricular. And yeah, and then like a week later, I was hanging out with the cast and everyone and the writers, and I was like, "So who is playing my dad in this show? Like, who we got?" And they're like, "Oh, it's a great actor. His name is Ian Tracey." And I'm like, "What?" Like, it was pretty cool. And yeah, I think that we almost had like an instant kinship because I'm friends with his son.
Did you kind of ask Keenan about his dad at all, or was it very much like I feel like Ian and Keenan, like Ian is particularly, they're such prolific actors in the Vancouver film industry that they can like easily kind of slip into this role, even one that is so kind of harsh and brooding, yeah, as the sheriff.
Yeah, I didn't ask Keenan too much about that, but no, Ian is such a good actor, and he adds so many levels to Sheriff Baxter. He's not. Once again, it's like Xavier. Like he's not just the bad dad. He's a good dad. He cares a lot. He wants to protect his son, and his son he won't listen, and that's got to be frustrating for him. Hurt people
Being
hurt.
both sides, yeah.
Yeah.
Which was your favorite scene to film in episodes 1 through 3 and why?
A really fun one to shoot was the shower scene in the flashback in episode 1, for a bunch of reasons. Um, for one, I mean, that's a really good example of Xavier's gift, which is he's quick on his feet. He's a fast thinker, fast talker, and people dismiss him maybe as like he's an underachiever, but I think he does have a gift, which is displayed there when he strips down and starts almost accusing the gym teacher of something inappropriate. um, so yeah, that was a really fun scene to shoot and a really funny dialogue, and on top of that, it's kind of a trip when you go to like change into your wardrobe and it can fit in the palm of your hand, and that's a daunting prospect in and of itself. But one that was like liberating. Like it was really it's cool. You don't have any pockets to put your hands in. You're just kind of like, okay, what do I okay? Very, very vulnerable.
I thought that scene was great. And yeah, the timing of your exchange, like Xavier's exchange with the gym teacher was A plus. And I have talked to actors before and they're like, yeah, it is kind of liberating because it's something, I mean, you don't do obviously in all your scenes, but when you first kind of read the scripts and received that direction, like were you like thinking that this would be a funny moment? Like you could see it in the page.
Yeah, I loved that scene from the jump when and it's I was immediately made aware, okay, you're gonna have to do that, and I was like I was just thinking this is the perfect scene for that because I'm making no pun intended an ass of myself, uh, and I feel like that's the only way to feel comfortable doing something like that.
Yeah, for sure. You can see how Maddie's disappearance, death, at that time disappearance takes a toll on Xavier when he gets taken away in the cop car at the end of episode 1, and he begins to tear up. And
Hmm.
he's often guarded, but he has these select moments where he shows his emotions. So, was it an exciting challenge for you to kind of play with both building and lowering those walls throughout the season?
Very much so. I think that it's interesting because trying to figure out how Xavier would cry, because I don't see him as someone who cries. You know what I mean? As I said earlier, with his dad. Men don't cry. Like it's just this toxic kind of masculinity that is learned from his dad. So that, I mean, that scene was fun, and there's a lot of moments like that where it's like you can see he wants to just let the waterworks go, but he's just fighting it and fighting it, and there's something really sad about that to me. Even when you're alone in a car, like you can't break down. Like that's just kind of like.
Yeah, like it's not allowed. And I have to say that whole sequence you mentioned, it was Phoebe Bridgers, I Know the End playing. Like I returned to that end part multiple times. It gave me goosebumps. Like everything from Xavier in the car, you had Simon in the classroom and the vigil, and it was so like chilling. Did
Yeah.
you feel that as well?
Oh my gosh. And Christian in that scene, I've watched that because I've done the exact same thing. I've watched that scene so many times, that whatever that is, like 10 minutes of the final episode, so many times. And Christian in that scene in the classroom makes me cry every time. He's so good in that scene. And that's what a perfect song. What a catch they managed to get. I mean, that it's just a great moment. It's funny. I'm gushing because I am such a fan of this show, and it's cool to hear that you say that because I've also watched it like 12 times.
I know it keeps going up.
Yeah.
How about switching between the present day and flashback scenes? Was it easy for you to keep track of where you were in the story?
Yeah, I mean that's something that is as part of like the homework, I guess. You gotta have a Bible of like the chronology of everything, and not only when the flashback is, chronologically, but also like what it is after in the present and what it's supposed to inform you of. Do you know what I mean? Um, but yeah, no, that's definitely like a fun challenge where it's like, okay, today we're happy, Xavier. No, today we're not, like. And another big challenge was also when we'd have scenes where the ghosts were in the room with us, and you're doing everything you can to just focus and not look in your peripheral. Yeah.
Kind of block them out. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
sure it's easier said than done. Um,
Yeah.
Tell me about Xavier's room and like the tone and personality of the objects inside. Like, did you contribute any ideas, and what did you see in the room that kind of was interesting to you?
We had some amazing set decks on this show, and Xavier's room is awesome. It's chock full. One thing I talked about with Max when I got there was I love drawing. I'm a big, like, I love visual art, and he saw that I had a bunch of drawings in my script, and he's like, make a couple of drawings and we'll put them on the walls of Xavier's room. So most of those are the very, very brilliant set decks, but I think there's one or two that are my drawings. And That's just like a cool little thing. I think that Max wanted all of these characters to feel like extensions of us in a lot of ways, and that's one way of doing it.
Very much a personal touch, which I love to hear. I had to ask about the affinity for SpongeBob SquarePants. Do you know kind of where that came from? Because, there's the scene where he's just watching SpongeBob and his eyes are so wide.
Yeah.
You feel like it's a bit of a jump scare in itself.
Yeah.
So, where did
Yeah.
that kind of interest and love come from?
Well, he's doing everything he can to, dissociate from the ridicule he's getting online. Um, and it's funny because I don't, you do all these little, you make all these little like decisions behind the scenes. And then when you're watching, I'm not sure if it reads. I picture that Xavier was smoking a bit of weed to try and, forget about everything that's going on right now and just numb himself. And so if you watch it, like he seems a little high, and I think that that's just a funny thing. But also, yeah, he's weirdly into my guy Xavier loves SpongeBob, and so do I. So
Another personal touch. I like it. And the thing with that's interesting with Xavier is, we see what he's capable of, punching the wall in the garage, dropping the cement block on the rat. But then we also know he plays Candy Crush. He keeps hand lotion. And so it's a lot of like, oh, is it not? So it's like the hidden intentions. I wanted to talk about the scene where he visits Sandra, Maddie's mother, to kind of offer support, but also really absolve himself of his role
yeah.
in, her death. So take me through that decision and why it was important for him.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's definitely a selfish element to it. I think that it's weighing on him so heavily, and he also, I mean, they touch on that earlier in the episode. I think I said earlier, where he says, "You never let me past the front porch," and I think there's such a curiosity when he enters that house, and he's like, "This is what she was hiding from. This is, this is the Maddie without the walls, essentially, right now that I'm getting to meet." And I love Maria Ditzia, who plays Sandra, so much. She's such a good actor, and that was another intimidating kind of scene, just to almost just watch a legend do her thing. But yeah, I mean, I think there are selfish reasons behind why he went, but I think he also needs Sandra to know that he's not the monster that people think he is. And I think that's a beautiful scene. Hopefully that's a bit of a, I don't know. It's interesting because like everyone will have a different reaction to the show and to Xavier. He is so polarizing, and I'm sure people will hate him. But hopefully there will be people that see that as a moment of him attempting some sort of, redemption. And yeah.
It was a really bleak kind of environment, and her constantly asking him, "Did you hurt her? Did you hurt my daughter?" I thought you two did the scene so well. And then in episode 3, he follows Nicole to the old control room. He gains her trust. What was it like filming this scene opposite Kiara, where Xavier actually opens up about the online trolls and not going against the public, the court of public opinion, what they think about him?
Yeah, that's interesting because yeah, one of the chemistry reads we did when trying out for the show was with me and Kiara, because I think it was really important that they have a chemistry or something. It's all platonic and friendly, but it's just something that is it's cool to see that when he enters the rooftop, she fully thinks he's there to murder her because he does have that energy to him where it's like, is this guy a serial killer or like is he just and I think that was a fun thing to play with. But they have I think she quickly realizes that he's not the boogeyman. He's just a dude who made a mistake. And I think that as the show progresses, without giving anything away, uh, they have a really interesting friendship.
And we do see them starting to work together at the end of the episode when they go with Sandra. And it's interesting because, at this point, Simon's kind of pulling away from Nicole just due to other reasons, the fact that he's the only one who can see Maddie. I love the writing in the show. Rose before a strong, independent woman with bright futures. Were you constantly fascinated by the scripts and lines like these, but also with the spirits and how many, lines they had from the other decades?
Yeah, that's one big part of the show that I mean I'm not really a part of, but it's I love it's some I don't think it's I can't think of another thing where it's been done where it's just all these people from different decades different eras that all manage to gel so well, even though they're so different. And I love the writing with all the ghosts. And it's cool because I didn't get to see any of that. Now I'm just like everyone else. I'm watching these and I'm so captivated by all the ghost actors. They're so and the writing is just so clever.
What can you say about Peyton's performance as Maddie, having kind of watched her go through this journey as a co-star and a friend?
She's so excellent. She's such a great lead. Yeah, a lot in a lot of ways. Maddie is, charming and humorous, but she's just going through something just unimaginable, being stuck in high school forever. Uh, yeah, Peyton is so good in this show. I'm loving watching her.
What kind of fan response have you seen since the show's release in terms of support online, friends and family reaching out?
Um, my parents love it. My parents and my sisters love the show. My girlfriend loves the show. Um, I'm a little bit nervous to, I guess, figure out what people think, but mostly just because I understand that. I mean, I was a big Game of Thrones fan, and I personally loved watching Joffrey, and he was like one of my favorite characters. But you see a lot of people online like, I hate that kid, and so I'm a little bit hesitant to dip my toe into the court of public opinion. I feel like I might leave that space crying.
You do have a Turkish fan account I saw on Instagram.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Just dedicated to you, which is insane. And I know you follow Split River memes, which are also getting people engaged and talking. Very funny account.
Yeah. Yeah, oh yeah. I'm loving the memes. The memes are so good.
Do you remember the first time coming together as a cast and how instant that connection was?
Oh yeah, it was so quick. We did so many things out in Vancouver. We went on a boat. We we would play pool. We would hang out on the rooftop, go swimming. Like we were just we were all staying in the same place too, so it felt kind of like camp. We were all just hanging out all the time and yeah, such a great group of people. And everyone's so different too in the show, which I love. There's just every you can get something completely different out of every single character.
Vancouver looked like a lot of fun. You spent Halloween, Canadian Thanksgiving here, so you were at Vancouver Fashion Week, front row, fun
Yeah,
experience.
yeah. It was my first fashion week fashion show. It was cool.
And then Halloween, Spongebob themed,
Right.
Mermaid Man, and Milo was Barnacle Boy.
We had
So
the
was that like an extension from the show?
Paramount and Awesomeness are part of Nickelodeon's kind of part of that family. So I think Nick was Jimmy Neutron, and Sarah was someone from Rocket Power, and yeah, me and Milo had to be Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy. So we were kind of doing a little homage to the Nickelodeon part of the Paramount family.
And there's such a big film scene in Vancouver. You also hung out with Alex Garfin, Liv Houston, Griffin Gluck, all filming different projects in the city. So did you make a lot of new friends during those 3 months?
Oh yeah, yeah. Everyone was great. The Superman and Lois team, the Cruel Summer team. It was my first time in Vancouver, and it's such a great place. And yeah, so many awesome shows are working there. So we were yeah, yeah. There was a lot of really cool people, a lot of new friends.
Can't let you go without asking about Polly. You and Paige have the most adorable pups. So what's it like being a dog dad?
Oh my gosh, I miss her so much. I've been in Los Angeles for the last little bit, and I fly home in like a couple days. I cannot wait to see Polly. Yeah, she's the cutest dog ever. I love her.
Is she high maintenance? Is she spoiled?
I may be spoiler a little bit, which I shouldn't, but she's like, I don't know who taught her fetch. I think she just like came out of the womb like chasing a ball. And it's just like her passion and her maybe her purpose in life is fetch. So
Keeps you two active, I'm sure, and
yeah,
definitely stylish. I saw she was wearing a fitted jacket matching her pair, and she has the flower collars as well.
yeah, that's Paige. That's Paige for sure. Yeah.
Never go out of style, that pup.
Oh, no.
And our signature question for you, if you could be any ice cream flavor, which would you be and why?
Ooh, well, it's a I mean, like if we're talking about my favorite ice cream flavor, it's probably chocolate chip cookie dough. But if we're talking about like what flavor I would be, maybe like mint chocolate chip. Um, and yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'll leave that up to interpretation.
I like that answer. Spencer, thank you so much for taking the time to chat. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much. Excellent questions. I really, really appreciate it.
Make sure to catch Spencer in School Spirits. It is out now on Paramount Plus, new episodes streaming on Thursdays, and we will see you next time.
Bye. Thank you.